Hello, everyone, and welcome to La Mesa, where wisdom speaks, here on Latino USA TV. I'm your host, Frank Luna. The great civil rights leader Cesar Chavez once said, "We cannot seek achievement for ourselves and forget about progress and prosperity for our community." Today, I'm honored to be joined by two Phoenix natives who are icons from the Latino and Chicano community, whose lives as U.S. veterans, business leaders, and public servants spanning 6 decades epitomize the quote by Chavez, Mr. Art Othon and Mr. Alejandro Reynoso. Together, Art and Alex, as they're better known to their friends and associates, represent two powerful expressions of Latino leadership. Art, whose career is rooted in public policy and community advocacy, and Alex, whose reputation is known for engineering excellence and innovation. Their stories remind us that success takes many forms, but its foundation is often the same: family, friendship, and the belief that we rise by lifting others. Please join me in welcoming to La Mesa Art Othon and Alex Reynoso. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for inviting us.
Likewise, thank you.
Thank you. I can't tell you how much I've been looking forward to this conversation. I know that we've been talking about doing this for a while now, so I really appreciate you both making the time to be here. What our audience may not know is that the two of you have been friends since childhood and grew up in the same neighborhood.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Homedale.
Yeah. Or as we like to say, barrio.
Right. Our barrio, Homedale.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't realize it was a barrio, but it was home.
Right. Right. And for those of us in our audience, Homedale is in Southwest Phoenix. Whereabouts would you say?
39th Avenue to 43rd Avenue, north of Buckeye Road.
Yeah. And lots of good folks grew up in that part of town, myself included, about a mile from you guys. Yeah. And that's one of many reasons I wanted to bring the three of us together. As I said in the opening of the program, you guys are both icons in the community and have been for quite a while. Now, I want to set the stage for our audience, and I thought that we would explore the idea here of two childhood friends that grew up in the same barrio, whose careers took different paths, but really remained rooted in service, learning, and community. Now, while I know that you guys didn't set out to seek notoriety and accolades, but you've both become among the community's most respected and revered leaders. So hats off to you both. I want to say, to kick things off, can you both start by taking us back to the beginning? And let's talk a little bit about Homedale and Homedale Barrio. Tell the audience a little bit about the neighborhood, what it gave you, what stayed with you, what has stayed with you for life. Talk about the people, the family, the neighbors, your mentors. Let's just start off talking about that a little bit. Who wants to go first?
I'll go for it.
All right.
Well, Homedale's out there in the West Valley.
Yeah.
Actually, it wasn't in the city limits at that time. It was in the county. And when I first moved out there, I was coming from Marcos de Niza projects, and
Right.
and grew up there for first 5 years, and then moved out to the West Valley with my mother and father.
Right.
But it was a small community, homes made up of adobe, some of them, some shacks.
Yeah.
It was the first subdivision that was available for the military people of World War II. My father and Art's father both moved out there owning the first homes, as a matter of fact.
Right.
But they weren't the model homes that you would move in today. I mean,
Sure.
These were homes that were occupied by some of the farm workers out there.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a small community at that time. And I think growing up through that, we became friends. I mean, Art was 2 streets down from us, and we could see his house, he could see our house. And there, it became a story of our gang comedy, basically.
Yeah.
and doing a lot of things together. And that was the main thing. We did a lot of things together. We innovated a lot of things. We entertained ourselves. We took care of ourselves.
Yeah.
And helped each other. One instance, one guy needed a bike. We took pieces from everybody else's bike, put one together, just so they can have a bike. So it was a community growing up of diverse. I mean, our friends were white.
Yeah.
And we, as a matter of fact, we didn't have many black folks there in Homedale except for one. And growing up, and this was in the 50s. So
Right.
Yeah.
Now, Alex, that was coming from Marcos. Now, Marcos de Niza was, how far was that from Homedale?
Oh, it's right downtown Phoenix on 7th Avenue and Buckeye Road.
Right.
And it was a project that was built back in World War II to house a lot of the people, underprivileged at that time.
Sure.
And we grew up there, but the community there was just fantastic. I mean, there was camaraderie, there were families growing up together. And we just often had the opportunity to move out to the West at that time too, so.
Yeah, and I know we have a huge following on Arizona Barrio Stories from the Marcos de Niza Barrio. So a lot of folks still identify with that.
A lot of people have come from the Marcos.
Yeah. Yep. Art, what about you? What do you remember about Homedale?
Well, and as Alex mentioned, it was a small community. The one thing is that we were all poor.
Yeah.
But we didn't know it at the time.
Exactly.
But everybody in that community was poor, so we felt good. But it was a community that was, I would go eat, sleep at Alex's house or at other neighbors' house, and at the gringos' houses. Everybody was camaraderie. Yeah. If somebody was building a room, everybody in the community would come help.
Yep.
Yeah.
If they were digging a cesspool, I remember, the Deer Westers and some of those other families. Yeah. Our parents and us kids would go and help.
Sure.
So I didn't realize how tight the community was because there was no racism, no prejudice.
Right.
It was just we were all from Homedale.
Yep.
Yeah.
We went to Riverside School out on 51st Avenue.
And Buckeye.
So, but it was a great life. But for me, when I got in the military, I realized there was other places and other ways of living. But it was one thing that I don't think will ever leave us is the camaraderie of the families. The black, the white, the Mexican, like we only had one African-American community member. But it was just a good way of growing up, of helping each other and being one as one community.
And I know that the three of us had talked before, too. You really didn't see color back then. It was just
That's
a
good point.
Talk about, being, coming together as one.
Yep.
And
I didn't feel racism until I went to Phoenix Union.
Really?
Yeah.
Same here.
My brothers and sisters that were raza would say, "Why are you talking to the gringos, man? Why are you talking to the negros?"
Wow.
And for us, it was natural to be accepting of everybody. Wow. And Homedale, I think, taught us that.
Yeah, I think that was the biggest surprise for me too. I attended Carl Hayden High School, and I saw my first race riot.
Really?
In high school. Yeah.
Wow.
And I didn't understand why. I mean, I was happy.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of unhappy people at that time as well.
When you talk about transitioning to high school and all that, do you think back, what were some of the early, I guess, maybe some of the early lessons that you think back about growing up in the barrio in Homedale that you could reflect on?
Yeah.
Because you think about high school and going into the Army and all that, you think any of that camaraderie and stuff that could help you get, find direction.
It like I said, I went to Phoenix Union because they had aircraft power plants.
Okay.
And I wanted to get in the Air Force. I didn't. Alex did. But at Phoenix Union, what I found out was that the communities in a lot of ways were separate. Raza and Chicanos were over here. The African American community was over here. The gringos were over there. Mm-hmm. The majority of what brought me back together was sports, playing football for Phoenix Union.
Yeah.
I was a linebacker on defense, and on offense I was a quarterback until my junior year. The rest of the team, They were primarily African Americans. They grew to be like 6 feet tall.
Yep.
Wow.
And I stayed at my little 5 foot something level. And so that was the end of my football career.
Wow.
Yeah, I got run over by the biggest linebacker out of Phoenix Union. And that ended my football career at Carl Hayden.
Wow. So you guys got a parallel with that, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
But I think sports brought us back together of the camaraderie that we had from Homedale.
Yeah. Wow. I want to move into your career path now. And Alex, you got into engineering, I know, after serving in the military, and art as well. I'm going to start with you, Alex. I want to talk about your career and the tremendous work you've done. You've been president of and CEO of AR Utility Specialist, Inc., or ARUZI, right? For 40 years now. You've guided its evolvement into a multidisciplined engineering, design, and construction management company. You've had over 40 employees, annual sales approaching $7 million. What first drew you into engineering, and how did learning, formal or hands-on, shape your deep commitment to excel at that career path?
That's an easy answer for me. While going to school at Riverside, my science teacher took us to the steam plant right outside our house. The steam plant was operating 24/7, making all sorts of noises.
Yeah.
And we were just intrigued about wanting to visit that plant. Walking into that plant, you saw these big generators, you saw these big steam engines, you saw people working all over the place, and I was just totally intrigued with that. It never left me. My whole career has been based on power generation and the associated designs that are required of generation. And from that, when I went to the military, I was actually still involved in the power end of providing power to remote sites, especially forward air control sites that were calling in a lot of the missions while I was in Vietnam.
Wow.
And handling the information coming over the air to the ships like the Missouri, the aircrafts to come in and cause strifes and calling in artilleries and stuff of that nature. But that stuck with me, power generation. And then I expanded it into transmission lines and distribution lines. Luckily, when I got out of the service, the first job I got, I walked down the street from a butcher shop that I was working in, and it was APS.
Oh, wow.
And the first day that I walked in there, and I told them I just got out of the military, and they said, well, good, I got an opening for you. So I ended up going to APS and working for 15 years there, expanding my whole horizons on engineering and drawings and designs and that nature. And from there, I just had the aspiration of doing something on my own, primarily because I felt that our culture, we're engineers, we're good at math.
Right.
We should be a lot more of us in doing this type of thing.
Yeah.
So I based my whole company on developing Hispanic engineers to doing this type of work, where in the past they would always shy away from it because it was not a position for them to be held by them. So that continued the aspiration to 40 years worth of doing engineering design for utility type industries.
And you have made a reputation with the young engineers and ushering them into the profession.
Yeah.
I know that.
Well, that's probably the secret of my company, is that I couldn't find qualified people. So I said, well, why not develop your own internally? So we took the lightest jobs possible and learned from them, and then taught young engineers, young students that had inspirations of the engineering, and developed their skills and sent them to school, and encouraged the school and get their degrees, and it kept going from there.
Yeah. And that's so
I
important.
can tell you how many people have been hired by utility companies that have stole employees from me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Well, before we get into Art's background, I think we're going to take a brief pause because Art has a long career to talk about. So we're going to take a brief pause, and we'll be right back.
This segment brought to you by Gutierrez Law Firm.
Hola, mi gente. I'm attorney Francisco Gutierrez and a proud sponsor of Arizona Barrio Stories. I grew up in the Anat barrio, and I've been practicing law now since 1984. Experience really does matter. If you've been injured by someone, call me. Let's talk.
Welcome back to La Mesa. We want to thank our community partners, Arizona Barrio Stories, South Phoenix District, and the Chicano Story Project in Los Angeles, all committed to amplifying our stories. Now back to La Mesa. Art, let's talk about your journey. As an executive and public affairs strategist for the past 5 decades, it's taken you across a multitude of leadership roles, covering sectors that have included state government, and your position as chair of the Arizona Mexican Commission, president of Chicanos por la Causa, to your work as an advocate, the private sector, and tribal relations, to name a few. As you reflect on all the leadership experiences you've had over your career, is there one that resonates with you the most today, where you look back and say to yourself, that time really meant a lot to me personally?
Yes. Well, there's a lot of times that meant a lot, but let me start with Chicanos por la Causa.
Okay.
You know, I was working for DES and unemployment office, and I'd started to manage. I was sent to Nogales, did about a year and a half there, and then came back to Phoenix as an office manager. But at the same time, Chicanos por la Causa was doing a lot of demonstrations, a lot of publicity, withdrew all the students from Phoenix Union High School because they were being mistreated. They finally got the administration to hire Hispanics. And at that time, Ronnie Lopez and Tommy Espinosa were the president and vice president, kept asking me if I would join Chicanos por la Causa. And my position back then was, why? You know, you guys demonstrate, but nothing changes. Mm-hmm. At least here at DES, I can hire raza, I can hire from my community to get jobs, you know, good standing jobs. But eventually they got to me. They started a manpower training center, and I decided to join CPLC. Mm. And from there, I went up the ranks and became the president and CEO. And I got to share with you that Chicanos por la Causa, for me, was a changing of my total thought process of our community and how underserved, underprivileged, and racism against us. Yeah. And so that was part of my challenge and my job, that I stayed with it and worked with it. And until one day, a campaign official that was running for the mayor came into my office and wanted, I was the president at the time of Chicanos por la Causa, and they wanted our support. And his name was Terry Goddard. And I was young and cocky at the time, so I told him, why should we support you? And he goes, well, because I'm a Democrat and I respect this, that, and the other. I said to him, well, you know, in reality, whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, once you get in office, you don't know what a Mexican is. And he said, what do you mean? I said, well, look what's happening at the airport at this time right now. Relocating of families, generations of families that lived in the area around the airport, and they moved them into places like Maryville and others. Mm-hmm. And so I told the candidate at the time, I told him, that's why I'm talking about, you're relocating a whole community. Yeah. For what? For expansion of the airport. And so he committed to me that he was going to make I'll take care of that. And I told him, well, don't tell me, tell the public. Yeah. And so he did. And then 8 months later, I get a call from him, and he had a few choice words about smart something. And I want to hire you. I want you to come work as one of my assistants. And at that time, I told him, no, I really wasn't talking about me. I'll give you a list of qualified men and females, men and women that could qualify to be in that position, not in the EEOC or affirmative action, but in a policy-making position. And so he said, well, I really want you to be there. And so I got a call from my president at the time, Tommy Espinosa, our chairman of the board at the time. And he said to me, Art, you could do more at the city of Phoenix in helping our community than we could here. So I made the move. And from being a community advocate, I became an advocate for the entire city, but still advocating for raza and our community and minorities as a whole. I had the responsibilities for the African American community, the Hispanic community, Asian community, Native Americans communities, and also some of the business leadership. So it was an opportunity for me to grow, an opportunity for me to learn, but at the same time, an opportunity to serve my community and bring in people to my community. Mary Rose Wilcox, with her first term as a city councilwoman, was part of that, and together we were able to bring in a lot of new positions that were held by Hispanics, Chicanos, Raza. So that was big for me. From there, I was asked if I would do a favor and go to help Governor Rose Mofford in her administration. The previous governor was ejected out. Rose Mofford then became the governor, and I went over on a temporary basis to help. And her and I got along very well, so she wanted me to stay. And I explained to her, well, I belong to the mayor, so you need to talk to the mayor. The mayor then put a plan in action that he was going to run because she wasn't going to run. And so I was shipped over to the governor's office and worked for Governor Rose Mofford for the 3 years that she was in office. And unfortunately, Terry did not win the race for governor. And then I was asked by APS, where my colleague Alex was working, if I would come over and help with, and the president, Mark DeMichael at the time, his comments to me was, I need help in changing the culture and the representation of the city into APS. And his exact words was, APS is nothing but old, white, bearded males. And we need to get some diversity in this company, because at the time, California's utilities were coming in and trying to break up the monopolies of SRP, APS, and Tucson Electric. And so that's how I got in. And Mark DeMichael said I was going to be part of the government affairs group. But I shared with him that I did not want to be a lobbyist. And he said, well, I need help with the legislature, with the Democrats, because they all like you and know you. And I said, well, I don't want to be a lobbyist. And he said, okay, we'll call you whatever you want to be called, but I need your help. So, and that's how, because with Rose Mofford, she was not Democrat or Republican. She was a Democrat registered, but she worked with everybody. And I learned that from her, to work with both sides of the aisle to get things done. Yeah. And so that's what I did with APS. And about 3 years after the government affairs position, I was offered the director of the community and the economic development department. So I became a director with APS and spent 19 years. And all of those years, it was my goal and my aim was always to hire and bring Hispanics into the community. And at that time, there was a position open for the director of HR, Human Resources. And that's when I sat with the president and said, you know, this is a perfect time to hire a Hispanic or a minority into that position. And we hired a gentleman by the name of Armando Flores, who came in from California as the HR director. And my discussions with him is, this is the background, this is what we have, and this is what you need to think about. And that's to diversify APS with women and minorities. And at the same time, we created for APS a women and minority business development program, where APS was spending over $1 billion in services and operation stuff, but none of it was coming to our communities, to the minority communities. So with that program, we had certain goals that everyone in the department, everyone at APS had to try to bring in women, minorities, and businesses to provide services, from landscaping to mechanical, all the different things that we outsourced to the public.
Engineering.
We made a priority to do that. We did a priority to make to go to women and minority businesses. And the first year we did it, we had about $1 million worth of revenue coming in from minority and women business. When I left APS after 19 years, it was around $70 million of purchasing power that went to our communities, not just Hispanics, but Asian, Native American, African Americans, Hispanics.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was blessed. I mean, it wasn't me. It's a guy upstairs that was guiding me into the things that I became exposed to and involved with. Then after APS, I retired. I was asked by the chairman of the Tohono O'odham Nation, who I had put onto the board of Chicanos por la Causa in Tucson some 40 years before, Ned Norris, and he called me up about 5 years ago and said, Art, would you do me a favor? Would you be willing to sit on an enterprise board for the Tohono O'odham Nation overseeing the casinos? I thought it was a volunteer job, and I felt I owed him a favor because he helped me. And so I said yes until I realized what I was getting into. I got a stack about this big of having to file for a Arizona gaming license and the background checks for, I think, from the day I was born to adulthood. But after about two months of working, the administrative assistant says to me, Mr. Othon, are you ever going to turn in a timesheet? And I thought, what do you mean? She said, well, don't you want to get paid? I mean, they pay you for this, you know? So that was a benefit that I was not expecting. But what happens today, working with the Tohono O'odham Nation, reminds me of the work that we did with Chicanos por la Causa. Yeah. And that is helping the underprivileged, helping education, helping to get jobs, helping for the communities to be able to compete wherever they go, whether it's in the reservation or outside of the reservation. Once we opened up the 2 casinos here at Desert Diamond in Glendale, one on the 99th and one on the 303, we were able to help. And I make sure to this day that we're hiring tribal first for the positions if they're qualified. So for me, it's been a very interesting, thankful road that we've gone through to get to. But like I say, it wasn't just me. It was the team that I put around me and that believed in the same things of helping our communities. And we made some changes. One of the things that, since we just had the Super Bowl 30, I was on the Super Bowl committee for that Super Bowl. And we started a program, the Women and Minority Business Development Program at APS. And I talked to the leadership at the NFL. And I said to them at that time, why can't we use local vendors? Instead of having all these vendors come from out of town for the Super Bowl, why can't we do locally here for our communities? And they agreed. And so Martin Samaniego, who worked with me at APS, and I put him in charge of the Women and Minority Business Program, I told him, you're going to be a loaned executive, and you're going to go work with me at the Super Bowl. And we started that for the NFL. And that was, I forget how many years, many, many years. We're on Super Bowl, what now? Do you remember the number? 50. Well, we were Super Bowl 20 at the time, or Super Bowl 30. But Martin, with our help, created the Women and Minority Business Program. To this day, the NFL is still using that program. One of the things that we got being on the board of that program was the Anglos that were on the board obviously were pro-Anglos, and the NFL leaves $1 million in every community that it works in or has a game in. In that $1 million, there was discussions on the board about taking it to Scottsdale and doing this and that. And I was able to gather some votes and say we should put this stadium or this $1 million into South Phoenix. And that's how we created the NFL Yet Center, which is alive and well today. Today it's from grade school to high school. They now have an indoor basketball court. They have football fields. And to this day, the NFL still contributes to the NFL. Wow. But they left that $1 million to the Reyes family, who was creating the NFL Yet Academy that it is today. So again, very fortunate to be in the right place at the right time, but it wasn't all me. It was the guy upstairs.
Yeah. That's amazing, Art. And that's the thing about both of you. You've done truly transformational work throughout your careers that has made an impact that is still lasting and bearing fruit. And that's a good segue to the next question. And I think you kind of already answered it, but I'll ask it anyway. Both of you have spent your lives serving others through mentorship, advocacy, volunteerism, or leadership. So why has service been so central to who you are and either of you can pick that up.
You're talking about military service.
I'm service in general to the community.
Well, if you experience the fact that you were overlooked, you didn't have the opportunities because you didn't speak up,
Right.
you miss out. I learned early on, if you don't ask, you don't get. And with that alone, I started asking for work. And of course, they always want to pigeonhole you into the minority classification. Say, well, we got that area full. We don't have enough room for another minority firm. And I said, well, don't judge me on my minority.
Right.
Judge me on what I can do for you.
Right.
Judge in the quality of engineering I can give you. I'm familiar with your type of work. I've done it for years. There's no reason why I can't continue doing that. Well, they listened to that a little bit. And they said, oh, okay, here's somebody different that's not pushing the minority status. And I said, well, I'm pushing the minority status because most of my staff is going to be minorities.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to prove to you that we can do this type of work and excel at it. And I think that alone was a service that really took off for us. And I think I gained a lot of respect taking it that way than the other way.
Yeah. Art?
Yeah, for me, service to our community was, I was very fortunate to be in a lot of leadership positions.
Mm-hmm.
And I've told my kids and I tell my friends and family, it's good to be able to get and grow up the ladder of a career, but always look back and see who you can help. Who can you bring along from our community that that is able to compete and increase their quality of life. And it's always, all of my friends and family. My daughter now, who I'm very proud of, is a vice president with Lumen, responsible for 1,000 employees. But she believes that what got her there was because she was able to reach back and help people up along the way. Mm-hmm. And I think Alex and I both do it, where he hires and makes sure that he's training Hispanic engineers. My job was whatever position I had, if I had an opportunity to bring somebody along and help them grow and watch them rise. And to this day, I've got a lot of friends that are in leadership positions because we work together. Right. And our priority, my priority, as Alex's is our community, because we were looked over many times for many places, many jobs. Racism was up and running. So we had to fight those battles to get our folks and our positions in the door. And I think we both continue to try to do that today.
Yeah, very important. I have one more question before we end with our Loteria question. When you think about the future of our community, what kind of leadership? And I'd like to point this towards our young people. What kind of leadership opportunities do you think our young people need most? Especially if you look at the onslaught of this artificial intelligence and everything, all this AI, it's everywhere today. Yep. But what kind of things do you think our young people need to be looking at? Especially when you think of, you can't learn everything in the classroom, right? Yep. You got to have you're going to be on the job one day, and there's things that you just have to pick up. You're going to be put on the spot, and you're not going to be able to go home and look it up on the book, or AI is not going to tell you how to handle that situation.
Yep.
It might.
Yeah. You know what I'm getting at?
Yeah.
What would you tell this young generation that are just coming out of school or they're training? What advice would you give them?
Well, I looked at education one way. I went to school to learn how to learn. And I think that basically opened the doors up to challenging and reviewing different avenues of engineering in my regard. Mm-hmm. The more exposure you had, the better choices you can make. And that's one thing I would tell anybody going to school. Learn how to learn so that you can learn how to look at a job. You may like it, you may not like it, but when you find one you like, you'll pursue it and you'll do well at it.
Great advice.
Yeah. For me, it's and what I tell again my family, my friends, is don't sit back. And Alex mentioned it. If you don't ask, you don't get. but don't sit back. Lean forward into the conversations. Be professional, be polite, but if somebody is giving the wrong message, challenge it, but be right about what you know, and share that in a very diplomatic way, not in protest, but in saying things would have worked out better if we did X. And I tell that to my family, my kids, my nephews, my nieces. If you don't lean forward and get into the conversation, and if there's a position that you think you want, learn what it takes, the fundamentals, and then put yourself in front of the people that are decision makers. And again, once you get the job and once you get in and once you grow, look back and help others.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Very well said.
Thank you.
Very well. Thank you, gentlemen. Okay, gentlemen, for our closing question, this really isn't a question. It's something fun we like to do here on the show. You'll see a dozen cards that are taken from the Mexican card game Loteria, which folks in our audience are familiar with it, much like the game Bingo. We borrowed the cards, and what I've done is I've put them out here on the table. And I just want to ask each of you, you've been kind of looking at them through the interview, I just want to ask you to look at the cards and just pick one that kind of speaks to you. And for no reason whatsoever, just whatever card you're attracted to, and just pick one, and we'll talk about it in a sec.
There's several there.
Yeah, I wish you could pick several, but what's your favorite? All right, who wants to go first? I want to ask you about it. Okay, all right. Tell us.
Okay.
What? Show it to the camera. Show it to your camera.
My card is El Pájaro.
Okay.
And do you want me to tell you why I chose this card?
Tell us what drew you to the card for non-Spanish speakers. Pájaro's bird, parrot.
Parrot.
Tell us what drew you to the card.
What drew me to the card is that I was formerly a hang glider, and I used to jump off the cliffs and fly with the birds. I used to look for thermals that would take my kite and me up into the clouds, or I'd look for buzzards or hawks that were flying in a circle because they were in a thermal and they took me up. And so that's why I picked the birds.
Oh, wow. That's cool. I love it. Great story. Alex, what did you pick? Show it to your camera.
El Mundo.
All right.
For some reason, I feel I'm carrying the world.
Yeah?
I have an obligation to do something for this world.
And talk more about that. Tell us more.
Well, I think my company's been to help rise a community and a culture to recognition.
Okay.
Even though it's been a struggle getting it to that, but they're there. I think the respect that we've always wanted and need is there. It needs to be shared with the world. You know?
And I know that Aruzi's doing some work internationally as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we were fortunate enough to be recognized to build what they call head-ends dish communications to satellites in Mexico.
Okay.
We have 4 particular sites that we're engineering and may possibly build. It'd be a first for our company to do that and be recognized to have the ability to do something like that. I won't say who it's for, because it's privileged information at the time, but it's going to serve the country of Mexico well in bringing them up to serve these unserved and underserved areas with Wi-Fi and internet.
Wow,
so
that's great. Yeah. Great. Well, thank you for sharing.
You bet.
Yeah. Well, gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for being here today. I enjoyed it tremendously, and I hope you have as well.
Well, thank you again for inviting us.
Absolutely.
No problem, Frank.
Great.
Wonderful job. Thank you.
Great. Folks, we look forward to seeing you again on the next installment of La Mesa here on Latino USA TV.